Oh, hello, here.
Right, this is my prediction for the AJ Usyk fight, or the Usyk AJ fight, as it should be said. A bit of feedback on it as well. Well, my money on the first one, which turned out to be right. I had Usyk to win by knockout in the last one. We didn't actually win by knockout, but he did win. I got good odds on the knockout. And in the 12th round, I was up off my seat thinking I was going to be in for like a 250 quid payday, but it didn't quite come off. It should have come off because his corner were waving the white towel about, you know what I mean? And he was gone. You could have quite easily seen that the referee could have jumped in there. But if that round had been 10 seconds longer, or even 4 to 5 seconds longer, I think he would have been out. But anyway, I predicted it. I predicted Usyk to win, and he did. Didn't quite get the knockout, but he should have done, in my opinion. He could have quite, on another day, could have quite easily have done. Not sure what the odds are going to be on for this fight in terms of the betting odds, but my money is going to be on Usyk again. Probably by knockout again, to be honest. It's difficult to judge with Usyk in terms of his state of mind. I mean, none of them have, obviously this is a direct rematch. It was months and months ago that they fought originally, but there haven't been any interim fights in between. Usyk is the older of the two. He's a few years older, and he's very accomplished anyway, so you're not going to think that he's going to be improving at all. AJ, again, could still improve. Came to boxing later on, the younger man. Bigger man as well, naturally the bigger man. But again, he doesn't have good stamina, particularly, and obviously the fact that he is the bigger man and naturally the bigger man doesn't always follow like that, but usually the more weight you have, in general, the quicker you are going to gas out, especially when you're carrying around the muscle mass that he usually carries around. But with Usyk, it's going to be very difficult to say, really, because like I say, he's that bit older. Where can he improve? He's training in Dubai, apparently, which is obviously the fight's being held in Saudi Arabia, so geography is not amazing, but I don't think it's very far away. The time difference isn't going to be much at all, if anything. And obviously, they're both sort of desert climates, so yeah. So there's not going to be, so the acclimatisation, I would say that's advantage Usyk. I think Usyk has got the advantage overall anyway. And obviously I think AJ will be just training in England. How Usyk's going to be in terms of his personal stuff. I know he was in Ukraine, defending his country and stuff like that. And apparently he lost a load of weight then. Obviously he wouldn't have been getting as much food as usual and the correct sort of food, and obviously the worry and all the rest of it. He wouldn't have had a proper training regime in place, but I believe his family, his direct family, and obviously himself, they're all out of harm's way now. But how much damage has that done to him emotionally and even physically with him losing that weight? We don't know until fight night. Obviously, it kind of helped him. It kind of helped him on kind of help any Ukrainian on anything, obviously. But how is that going to play in? Is it going to take that couple of percentage away from him on the night, just worrying about it even before you get into the physical? But yeah, that's a bit of a negative. But when you look at Usyk, obviously he's undefeated as a pro. He's had around 20 pro fights, beating them all, mainly at cruiserweight, but he's beating everybody. Doesn't sound like a lot of fights, but when you consider what he did when he won the Ali tournament or whatever it is, the Muhammad Ali trophy, and obviously he became undisputed at cruiser, unbeaten since moving to heavyweight, or the unified champ. Even as an amateur, he was okay, a lot smaller. He was fighting down at like light heavyweight or middleweight or whatever he was down at originally. But he did come up and fight the likes of Joe Joyce and beat the likes of Joe Joyce in the World Super Series, which is it's not quite professional boxing, but it's closer to professional than amateurs. I believe it was 4 rounds, might have been 4 3-minute rounds, which again, amateurs is usually, I think, 3 2-minute rounds. And there's no head guards, so again, you know, and he beat the likes of Joe Joyce and I think Tony Yoka and several people who are, you know, renowned heavyweights now. So yeah, the 19-20-0 record that he's got in the pros now, I wouldn't pay too much attention to. He's a lot more seasoned than that. When it comes to AJ, obviously he's had the more pro fights, he's had far less amateur fights, but you could argue, and obviously he spent all of his time at heavyweight, and obviously that is the division that they're in now, so that would be an advantage. The AJ's CV or resume, as the Americans say, isn't quite what Eddie Hearn would have you believe it is when you dig a little deeper into it. It's a good resume, don't get me wrong, it's one of the best, but it's not quite the stellar resume that Eddie Hearn would have you believe. When you look through it, he very rarely takes on unbeaten guys. He has done, yeah. very rarely takes on the proven unbeaten guys. Not exclusively, but the vast majority of them haven't been. They're always, or almost always, either slightly unproven or slightly over the hill. Everything is always on his terms. He's always the A side. His name is always first on the poster. He's always getting paid more. It's always down the fucking road from his house at Wembley or wherever, wherever it's being held. You know what I mean? He's always on a matchroom show. He's always the A side. He's usually the bookie's favourite as well. He must always have that psychological edge, especially in Britain, knowing that if it was to go to the cards, which most of his to be fair to him, most of his fights don't go to the cards, but he's probably going to win anyway because he's usually been at home. I know this one is in Saudi Arabia, but who's the biggest star in Saudi Arabia? Usyk, even though he's the unbeaten guy with all the belts. No, it's AJ. AJ's still the A side. Don't know what the split is in terms of the money or whatever, but it still wouldn't surprise me to learn that AJ is getting just as much, if not more, than Usyk, which again, on a sort of moral level, is ridiculous. But yeah, it's in terms of it's just his popularity, you know, the look and how many pro fights he's been in and how well he's been promoted by Eddie Hearn. But when you look at the guys who he's fought, like I say, Klitschko, fair enough, he beat Klitschko. There's life and death. Klitschko could have easily beaten him, and Klitschko was 41 years old at the time. Fighting on a matchroom show, fighting at Wembley down the road from his house in Watford. Against a Klitschko who'd already been beaten by Tyson Fury 18 months before. But yeah, he beat him, fair enough. He was over the hill, he never fought again afterwards. Charles Martin, again, I believe that was at the O2, so again, London. He's from Watford, not very far away. Matchroom show, A side, you know, betting favourite, good promotion from Eddie Hearn. Charles Martin, I think he was unbeaten. I think he had a draw or some no contest or something, but he had it was the belt that Tyson Fury was forced to relinquish, the IBF, I believe, within a few days of beating Klitschko. It was then Martin was mandated to fight Glasgow, I believe, who was the number one challenger to fight Fury. So it was Martin, number one and number two, I believe, on the IBF who fought. And as I recall, Glasgow retired due to a leg injury, so he won. Martin won. Came along to the UK, seemed more money than he'd ever seen before he'd been offered. Stepped in a ring, couldn't find the floor fucking quick enough for my money. Yeah. Anyway, and that's that. So he's beaten Martin, like I say. Fair enough. You've got to beat him. You've got to be in there, and you've got to beat him, and he did. So Klitschko and Martin, not particularly impressive to me. Dillian Whyte, again, beat Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte was unbeaten at the time, was by nowhere near the finished article at the time. He might not even be the finished article now, but he's far better, obviously, now than he was several years ago then when AJ fought him. AJ was rocked for the first time. Whyte nearly had him over at one point, but he knocked him out. I think it was the 7th round he knocked him out. Obviously, Fury's gone on to fight Whyte since, when now Whyte's a more polished version. Fury didn't lose a round, really, did he? And he knocked him out in 6. Got Joseph Parker again. You know, he was unbeaten at the time. A lot of people said Ruiz beat him. Maybe he did. I don't know. But he went 12 rounds with Parker. Close fight. By no means won all of the rounds, but yeah, I'm not going to argue he beat Parker. But again, that was in Britain on a matchroom show, as all of AJ's fights always are, and he was always the betting favourite. Ruiz, and it sort of it gets mooted that, you know, he went to Madison Square Garden to fight the American in his backyard. It's not his fucking backyard. He lives in San Jose or wherever it is. He lives in California, which is further away from New York than London is. And he's also a Mexican. So no, it's not his backyard by any stretch. But again, he was the betting favourite. Had everything. All the vast majority of the purse was his. Betting favourite, A side, you know, promoted to the hill. And he got beat. And after he got beat, Ruiz was held up to be like this absolute killer who can punch like fuck, according to Hearn. But he wasn't. He never was. He's good. Really good. But massively undersized at heavyweight. And yeah, I don't think he hasn't really done anything ever since. I know he's going to fight Ortiz or whatever, but he might have had the odd win, but he's not looked impressive. Beat Ruiz in the rematch, just boxed him and won almost all the rounds again. That was in Jeddah, so again in Saudi Arabia, same circumstances. But for my money, you don't really get credit for cleaning up your own mess, do you? You know, you've put name for a last minute standing or whatever. But he didn't really have much business being in with the unified champion, did he? To be honest, But he beat the unified champion, and then suddenly he's really good because he's beaten the unified champion. Obviously, you do have to be good to a certain extent, bad, but then, you know, so he's fought Ruiz once, so he's been in with Ruiz, Pulev, Klitschko, Ruiz again. Well, yeah, Ruiz again, because the fight you're only having because you fucked it up the first time. Well, we're not even, I don't even want to go into all personal stuff with him because there's so much, and I want to try and keep it around 10 minutes of the video, but could be here all night talking about all the indiscretions he's had, all the racial stuff. There's numerous incidents on Twitter and where he said this person's misunderstood or referred to that person as this or said this, but someone else had fucking written it, but I was just stupid enough to read it, or, you know, I've dealt drugs to these children, I've gone and threatened to beat up these children, and, you know, or whatever the fuck. We don't even want to go. Yeah, I say I don't want to go into it. I've just gone into it, but it's all available online. Trust me. This guy don't know he's fucking born. In between that and his gifted gold medal at London, you know, hometown boy, he shouldn't even have been in final, let alone fucking, let alone got a gold medal from the final. But I don't know. He doesn't know he's fucking born, does he? Really, AJ? If anyone else had done that, he wouldn't have had. He's done a really good job with him as Hearn and Matchroom. You just don't hear any of this stuff, you know what I mean? There's so much other stuff regarding personal stuff of his that, again, said I wasn't going to go into the other stuff, but then how he's got this butter wouldn't melt thing going on, I just don't. It's just there is no evidence to back that up at all. Fury didn't get away with it when he had some outlandish comments when he was in his early 20s, so I don't see why a bloke in his early 30s should be getting away with far worse, to be honest, but he is. But my prediction is, for the fight, my prediction will be AJ will get beaten again, Uysk will win. Again, it's difficult to say with all these circumstances around everything. My prediction is AJ will come out quicker, come out more aggressive, as he needed to do. It's not quite as simple as you hear some people say, oh, he just needs to go and hit him or whatever, and he just needs to go and stand in. No, you can't stand in front of him because you'll get punched even more than you did before last. I think his game plan's going to be better than this time, because it wasn't even really a game plan last time, apart from to try and box a boxer who you knew clearly you were never going to outbox, but still did it anyway. And he was damn near being knocked out. If not, you know, he couldn't have complained if it was stopped in the 12th. The corner was trying to stop it, even though the referee didn't acknowledge it. And if there was a few more seconds, it could have been stopped. Definitely, well, it could have been stopped because he could have been on his ass. But yeah, I see AJ coming forward more, and I see him getting stopped. I see him getting stopped in the middle rounds. Maybe middle late rounds, maybe we'll see. I predict Usyk will win mid-late stoppage, but say rounds 6 to 10, we'll say. Anyway, that's me rant over on that.